It was first sighted 35 years ago. It has now landed on all continents across the planet. It is the Extraordinary Terrestrial. The skeptics said it would never survive, but it thrived even in the remotest areas of the world. In appearance, it's changed little, though it's now taking on a new form. Those who know it well have grown strangely fond of it. One of them even adopted its name.
Mr. Land Rover, of course, they call me. This is really because I was one of the first 5 that started it, and I was the one that was left with it and have carried on and lived and dreamed. And although I retired full-time some 2.5 years ago, I still go in at least 2.5 days a week. I still deal with a lot of outside converters making specials because I still live and dream Land Rovers.
The wartime blitz of Coventry, Hitler's plan to bomb Britain's heavy engineering industries into submission. But unwittingly, he was helping one of them create its biggest success. Steel rationing after the war crippled Rover's car production and forced it to seek an alternative.
As the war ended and the Rover company had got to get back into the car situation, which they were before the war, and steel was rationed according to the export potential. So the Rover company, who had not exported cars pre-war, had a problem. And the 2 Wilkes brothers, who were directors at that time, M.C. Wilkes and S.B. Wilkes, M.C. Wilkes had a little farm in Anglesey where he'd managed to get hold of an old war Jeep. And he came along to the 5 design section leaders, of which I was one, and said, well, we've got to get into the export market. We haven't exported cars. I think the only thing we can do is to see if we can do something to suit the farmer that's 4-wheel drive that can get across their fields. And as we cannot get steel for the time being, we better use aluminium as much as we can. So he gave us 5 section leaders the problem of doing a 4-wheel drive vehicle, particularly for the farmers that could plough and harrow and those sorts of things, get across the fields. As he told me at that time, a 2-year stopgap.
But when the first prototype emerged, Land Rover's wartime baby proved full of surprises. Far from being an unsure toddler, it took the world in its stride.
Bless your beautiful hide, wherever you may be. We ain't met yet, but I'm a-willing to bet you're the gal for me. Bless your beautiful hide, you're just as good as lost. I don't know your name, but I'm mistaken my claim, lest your eyes is crossed. Oh, I'd swap my gun and I'd swap my mule, though whoever took it would be one big fool. Bless your beautiful hide, prepare to bend your knee, and take that vow, 'cause I'm a-telling you now, you're the gal for me. Pretty and trim, but kind of slim, heavenly eyes, but oh, that size. She's got to be right to be the bride for me. Bless your beautiful hide, wherever you may be.
And she could be anywhere in the hands of the military. Defence contracts were sealed with countries the world over. Military buyers became Land Rover's best customers, taking 60% of vehicles produced. As versatile as a Meccano set, it was a sitting duck for inventors with unusual ideas. It's not easy to upstage a devoted Land Rover owner. So describing this as Britain's oldest working Land Rover is bound to unearth a few more. Nevertheless, farmer Jim Knowles will take some beating. His Land Rover was built in 1948, one of the very first off the production line. And it's been hard at work for 35 years.
Well, Jim, it looks a bit scruffy, but it's really a collector's item, isn't it?
Well, yes, it's 1948, original, and it's unique, apparently, in that I am the original owner of the vehicle, and there are not many vehicles, if any others, of this age that are still in the hands of the original owner. Everybody else's vehicles have been bought and sold.
Why did you decide to buy it?
Well, in 1948, we needed a small goods vehicle of some sort, with the opportunity of a four-wheel drive sort of go anywhere. This obviously was the thing we wanted. And so one came into the district to an agent, and we had a look at it, and after a short while we bought it. We hadn't seen one before or anything like that. And so we thought we would buy this thing, and you know, we're very glad we did.
In those days, what did you pay for it?
Ah, well, that's rather interesting, because those days are gone. One new Land Rover, number R860596, £540, with £3.15 for delivery charges from the works to London, and £1 7 6 for number plates, a total of £545 2 6.
Now, what sort of jobs has it done since then?
Oh, all sorts of jobs. A vehicle that anyone could get into and go to anywhere on the farm. It's just used for everything. And when anybody can't get there in their car, they take the Land Rover. It doesn't look very smart, but basically it's very sound. I dare say someone would like to buy it, but I don't want to sell it.
Breaker 19, this here's a rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Love Machine?
So, do they love their machines? We decided to put the owners to the test. On a bitterly cold winter's day, we invited them to Eastner Castle at Ledbury in Herefordshire, just to see how many would turn up.
Looks like we got us a convoy.
You use low ratio first gear coming down the hill. Just move on there, click on the parking. If you're on CB, we're using channel 39. Okay? Nice to see you.
Filming, you put it into first gear, low ratio, engine braking. It's a little bit slippery and don't want to mess.
There's your number, sir, to go on this right-hand side. Your ollie patch there. That's your list of instructions for the day.
Most important bit, where's the bolts?
Down in that corner on the left-hand side. It must have been a long trip.
We expected around 300. How wrong can you be?
Breaker Big Ben, this here's a duck again, then. Now, you want back off of them go-go girls? 10, Roger, about 5 miles or so. Yeah, them hogs is getting intense up here.
New Mexico on I-40 like a Texas lizard on glass. 1,000 pedals was mashing the metal and bears was walking the grass. We trucked all day and we trucked all night. Big Benny improving our style. We could tell by the smell we was heading for hell, and the devil was Dirty Lyle.
We got a great big convoy rocking through the night. Yeah, we got a great big convoy. Ain't you beautiful sight? Come on, join our convoy. Ain't nothing gonna get in our way. We gonna roll this trucking convoy across the USA. Convoy.
I think owners look at their Land Rovers, or Landers, as they're so often called, as their own special little workhorse. So many of them are so very old now, nearly 35 years old, some of them. And they're nearly always a friend of the family or been restored from some time ago, kept with them. Very unusual breed, and with the cold weather we've had, they've been camping and caravanning and sleeping inside them. They're a hardy lot.
Run out of luck when he crossed that final bridge. There's choppers and rigs full of guns and pigs. They's wall to wall on the ridge. He showed no fear as he grabbed his gear and he stuck it to Granddaddy low. Them guns went boom and his ass went zoom and the Mac took a terminal blow.
Oh, how about you, Big Nasty? Come on there. Say, listen, Big Nasty, we sure are glad to use along on this here run to kick ass, don't you know? On 10-4, I know you can't say kick ass on the CB. Back?
Well, that big black Mac stopped dead in their tracks when the trailer blew high in the air. There was pieces of truck and some pieces of duck and junk and debris everywhere. Then the rig took a drink and commenced to sink, and there was no duck no more. But that evil smile from dirty old Lao showed south from the North Texas shore.
Must be our mighty convoy, rocking through the night. There'll be our mighty convoy, makes you beautiful sight. Come on, join our convoy, ain't nothing gonna get in our way. We gonna roll this fucking convoy across the USA.
On 10-4, Big Ben, what's your 20? Omaha. Hell, they don't know what to do with them all down there for sure. Well, listen, good buddy,
We have a total corrected 750 vehicles.
Is that a record of some sort?
That is an outright record, yes. Never has there ever been before a gathering of this size ever staged in the world.
Whilst Land Rover has an outstanding reputation, in fact it has an incredible reputation throughout the world where we sell in 150 countries because of its durability, its strength and its long life. Other countries and companies got into the product 4x4 sector because they saw it as an opportunity.
The foreigners capitalized on Land Rover's biggest mistake. Having created the demand, it wasn't building enough vehicles to satisfy it. The rivals stole millions of orders with vehicles better equipped, more comfortable and cheaper.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
Oh, you can.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Anything you can be, I can be greater. Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I can shoot a partridge with a single cartridge.
I can get a sparrow with a bow and arrow.
I can live on bread and cheese.
And only on that,
Yes.
so can a rat.
Land Rover has got something the Japanese haven't got. We've got a really outstanding product, and our product sells on its lifetime cost. So we have no intention of trying to compete with the Japanese head-on price. What we say to our customers is that the ultimate price you pay for your vehicle is the lifetime cost, not the buying price. And that is something that our customers throughout the world in these very rugged markets have known to their cost when they've changed over to Japanese. That's why they've gone back and bought our vehicles. So we've got the edge over the Japanese. Their vehicles are virtually all steel.
The fierce competition, mainly from Japan and Europe, sent Land Rover back to the drawing board. 5 years ago, they set about developing a new vehicle to compete with the foreigners on equal terms.
What we wanted was a vehicle that was going to meet the requirements of the 80s, in that it was going to be more refined, better ride and handling, quieter, it had more capacity, would be in fact more powerful, would not use more fuel, would have four-wheel drive as a permanent feature, therefore be much more rugged, more safety conscious, but still maintaining all of Land Rover's outstanding strengths and durability. And here, our uniqueness has been the only manufacturer that has aluminium throughout the body for long life. Over the last 4 years, we've had an investment program which amounts to 200 million in total. I was geared at doing a number of specific things. One was to increase capacity. 2 was to, in fact, bring in a new 5-bearing petrol and diesel engine. 3, to bring in 110 and the associated product changes, as well as improving, in fact, the way we make the vehicle. For instance, on 110, we're using a robotic facility to make the 110 chassis. where previously we would have used 30 men to build a 110 chassis. With new investment in robotics, we would only require 7 men.
Yet the foreigners have been doing it for years. Their cheaper vehicles have been better equipped and more comfortable. They left Land Rover no choice. It had to improve. The new 110, built at Solihull, costs between £8,000 and £10,500, about twice the price of some of the cheapest Japanese vehicles. Nevertheless, Land Rover believe it will lure the customers back. They hope it will silence the moans drivers have had for years about discomfort, harsh ride and poor visibility. Despite that, Land Rover has still sold 1.3 million vehicles.
Oh, I'm so proud of the thing that was started with expected life of 2 or 3 years that it's been amazing even to me. And I've had several trips around the world showing these vehicles off, selling the vehicles, and it's a real great experience to know that we have produced the best 4x4s in the world. When we first started off with the Land Rover, one of my mottos was that the durability of the Land Rover is controlled by the discomfort of the driver.
The potential abroad is enormous. The vehicle itself now represents something that's very much more upmarket than we've had before. It's certainly going to enable us to take on the Japanese and German competition in a way we've never been able to before. And I'm very excited about that prospect. The Japanese have really established themselves, particularly in the leisure sector. And I feel this vehicle is going to give us an outstanding chance to get back in there and compete with them head on. And no doubt with the improved situation with sterling and our more efficient cost base here, we're in good nick now to actually go about succeeding with that. If you go back a little while, one took the view, I guess, that it was just a question of providing the vehicle to the customer and not really selling. Those days have gone, and the Japanese and to some extent the Germans have made our position in Europe and in third world markets a lot more uncomfortable than it was, say, 10 years ago.
15 years ago, I tried the original 88, After quite a severe stomach operation, I got round the track then, but today, I dare say you could almost carry out an operation in that vehicle. It's that smooth.
We don't believe that a vehicle can go through that course and over that terrain as it did.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
The Japanese have scored in being perhaps different and a little bit more up-to-date in comfort. But now Land Rover have hit back at them. You've got the best of both worlds. You've got the strength and the longevity of the Land Rover, now coupled with the ride and the comfort.
Sure.
Superb.
Yeah. And what about foreign competition?
There isn't any.
I don't think they stand a chance.
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
We've gotten now, I think, what we should have had 3 or 4 years ago.
At present, as everybody knows, there's a major world recession in our industry. That is specific also to 4x4 markets. And in the developing countries who are going through the most difficult period for a number of reasons, the commodity prices have dropped, oil prices have dropped, and there's been a reduction in oil revenues because of volume. So those countries that were expanding, like Nigeria and a number of other countries in the Middle East and, in fact, Africa, their markets have declined. What we're doing is we're still getting our share of those markets. In some cases, we've increased them. And we've won new customers last year in the Far East, in Malaysia and Indonesia. We opened up new markets where previously those markets were being held by the Japanese.
The factory at the back of me is producing vehicles now at the rate of climb that was laid down. It's a record that Land Rover Limited can boast has been there since the new company was formed in 1978. And the one thing I don't get complaints about in Europe these days is shortage of vehicles.
So the Japanese are better watch out.
They better.
Now, Land Rover and its future, what sort of a challenge is that for you personally?
Well, it's a very exciting challenge. It's an outstanding product. It's a company that has to export, that does export 80% of its production, and over 95% of its components are British-made. That is a unique combination in today's tough and economic environment situation. Last year, for example, our exports amounted to £220 million. So it's a major contribution to the country. Directly and indirectly. And I believe, because of its unique strengths and outstanding capability, Land Rover has got the capability of, in the future, doing substantially better with 110 and the products that we're developing for the future.
With 5 years and millions of pounds investment behind it, the new Land Rover is launched at the Geneva Motor Show tomorrow. There's been a lot said about 110, but the last word rests with the customers.